following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
And welcome into another Tier Tuesdays. This is HighLowSports crew, DJ, Kelsey. Obviously, we are switched roles today, so I'm still used to saying the names in the same way. Whether I'm Kelsey or I'm DJ today, I guess I'm DJ today, DJ.
That sucks for you.
No, so we're going to do a little something different with Tier Tuesdays going forward. We talked about this a little bit last month in some of our episodes alluding to this. As we get ready for the NFL draft, it's DJ and my favorite time of the year because we get to talk about prospects. And not just any prospects, but top-tier prospects, guys that are expected to do well in the NFL. And so we're going to break it down by position. But we're not going to do this like, oh, this guy's the best, this guy's... No, we're going to have fun with it like we always do at Tier Tuesdays. We're going to give our opinions on these guys. And, you know, some of them might be outlandish, as I'm known to do. Some of them might not be. So this one's going to be taking place on our Belly Up YouTube page. But be sure to stay tuned every week as we'll be doing a new position group going up to the draft. Every episode will be on our YouTube page, the HighLowSports YouTube page, so check that out. But there's going to be a couple we're going to drop for sure on the Belly Up Sports page. So we're going to start out today. DJ, I know this is your favorite position to talk about. I think it's everybody's favorite position to talk about. Quarterbacks.
We're slinging it.
You ready?
Yeah, let's go. We're slinging it.
Yeah. That's a good way to start this. So we're going to pull up the list here, and we're going to start here at the bottom. There are 11 prospects on this board. I know, surprisingly, there's 11 prospects in this quarterback class. Who knew? We're going to go from the bottom up. We're going to start with Sam Hartman there in great hair. Going to be a great backup. Don't have a lot of faith in Sam Hartman's career as a NFL quarterback, but you know what? Like Chase Daniel, I feel like this guy's going to make a lot of money sitting the bench, playing spot starts when you need him, doing a lot of cleanup time. Who knows? Maybe he might make a few starts here and there, but I don't think he's a long-term option. Moving up one category, we got Rocket Arm, but that's about it. If anybody's watched this guy play, whether it be at Michigan or Tennessee, you know Joe Milton has a rocket arm. If you saw the combine, you saw, 72 yards in the air? So I have Joe Milton here going rocket arm, but that's about all you're getting with him. There's a lot of work to do. He's definitely a project quarterback. Not a guy I'm excited to see in the first 2 rounds if he goes. Maybe a guy in the 5th round, okay, I'd be happy with, but that's about as early as I'm expecting him to go. And this one's going to catch me a lot of heat. I already know it. But I need to speak with your manager. Yeah, that's Caleb Williams. I need to speak with whoever anointed him as the next Patty Mahomes because we have a problem. While he is lower on this tiers, I wanted to do it for an effect. While he's not that low in reality of the rankings, as far as the annoyance I have with the fact that everybody wants to make him the number 1 quarterback in this draft class, or even the number 2 quarterback in this draft class, I'm calling blasphemy. He's not there yet. There's a lot of work to do. So I'm speaking with somebody's manager. I need to see him now. I need a refund on this whole entire take that somebody gave me. Just can't happen anymore. Moving up one and kind of staying in the same category here, we're going JJ McCarthy. This guy is a first-round option? Question mark, exclamation point? Because there's no reason this guy should be a first-round option. If he goes to the right team, maybe he gets a 5th-year option. Somebody trades back up in the late first round to get him, just to get that 5th year on him, because you're going to need it. He needs a few years to develop. He's not going to be a guy right out of the gates that's going to be good for you. I just don't see it. So, yeah, we're going to move up one more. Matt Castle 2.0. If you guys don't know who Matt Castle is, played for the Patriots for a few years. When Tom Brady went down with his major knee injury for a year, 15 of the 16 games of the year, then Matt Castle stepped in, earned himself a contract with the Chiefs, started with the Chiefs before Alex Smith ended up there, and played relatively well. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad. Pretty average. You're not going to, hold your franchise hostage with him, but he can keep you afloat in between quarterbacks if you need to. I have Michael Pratt going there. Tulane quarterback there, Michael Pratt. Guy who's been often injured in his career, so staying healthy is an issue, similar to Matt Castle. But making the right plays is what he does. So I'm going right here, Matt Castle 2.0 with Michael Pratt. Need the right system to be good. He has all the arm talent. We've seen it in the combine. We've seen it in games. It's Devin Leary from Kentucky, previous NC State quarterback, but I don't see him going high again. This is a guy, low-round guy, type of guy, but if he goes to the right system, I think there's an opportunity if he sits for a year or 2. Speaking of which, high ceiling but needs work. Talk about the number 1 quarterback prospect when he came out of college, and a guy that was usurped by Caleb Williams at Oklahoma, who then found his way over to South Carolina. That's Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler, the game manager, fantastic. Love him. He has a lot of ability. There's a lot of arm talent there. If he can stay consistent, stay in his lane, I think he has a high ceiling in the NFL. But there's a lot of work there, personality, mentality-wise, to get him there. So that's going to take me to ready-made pro. That's the complete opposite of these guys. These guys are ready to go right out the gate. They've probably played the most amount of games out of everybody on this list. And I do mean the most amount of games. And they might even be 40 years old as a rookie. I'm talking Bo Nix from Oregon. We all know my love affair or hate affair with Bo Nix, depending on the time of season. But it's hard to say he's not one of the most ready-made pro prospects in this draft. That goes with Michael Penix, too. I think with the two of them, their arm talent is above everybody else as far as just ability to put the ball where they want it. And their ability to read defenses to some degree is quality. I know there's there's some questions there for both guys, how well they can stay healthy, how long they can stay in the league. But I think if you need to win and you need to win now, these are your two options. But if you really, really want to win and you're looking for a home run, that's going to take me to the top prospects. That's Jaden Daniels, LSU Heisman Trophy winner. No doubt about it. He is just an absolute X factor on the field. And Drake May, your North Carolina quarterback, who has been the number one option at the quarterback position. I feel like for 3 years, it seems. I know he's not been eligible for 3 years. He's been eligible for 2. But at this point in time, I still say he's the top prospect along with Jaden Daniels here. Two guys, if you need to win now, if your job's on the line, looking at you, Carolina, you might need to make a position. I know you're not going to leave Bryce Young this early, but look, if you're going to make something crazy happen, go make something crazy happen with one of these two guys. So, DJ, what do you think?
Well, Carolina, I don't know what Carolina, they gave up everything they have last year to go get Bryce Young. So if they want to make that move, I'm curious what they'd have to give up at this point. Like they literally have to sell the entire team and hope to make it work. So I'm not sure, but if they could pull it off, I'm going to be impressed if they could pull that. That'd be impressive. Brian Burns, maybe that's why they franchise tagged him, but they still got a long ways to go. Well, I'm going to just spot duty from the bottom up. Great hair, great backup, perfect fit for Sam Hartman. Joe Milton, I think you're selling him a little bit short. He's also very fast and athletic. So rocket arm, and he can move a little bit.
Okay.
Michael Pratt, Matt Castle 2.0, kind of a good fit. That's a pretty good career. Maybe he has a higher ceiling, goes to the right spot. We'll see. Dennis Leary, he had a great combine. Coming out of Kentucky, he had a better combine than Will Levis, the guy he's proceeded last year. He looked really good. Late second, third round, I think he can go somewhere, maybe starting a year or two. I think that's a nice spot for him. JJ McCarthy, the first round option thing, it still kind of bugs me because I have him as right now. Of course, this is March 5th. So there's a long time for this to change right now. So right now I have him as about QB 5-6 area. I think if he's going to go in the first round, it should go somewhere like the Rams where he can sit behind Matthew Stafford with Sean McVay, like somewhere like that. Then it's like, oh, you're going to get a first round talent out of him. But the kid's 20 years old and threw the ball so few times in college, which not his fault. That's what they had to do to win 15 games, go undefeated and win a national championship. And then even the year before that, it was the Blake Corum on his way to the Heisman Trophy before getting hurt show. And then Donovan Edwards, who's going to be RB1 going into next year, arguably. I mean, you had two high-quality backs. So it's not his fault, but it's kind of like with Anthony Richardson last year where he just didn't have a lot of throws. The difference was, look where they did it as well, too. Like J.J. McCarthy did it for a couple years in Michigan. Anthony, 1 year explosion really out of Florida. And he destroyed the combine where McCarthy had a good combine. So 6-1, half a dozen the other. Someone like Minnesota takes him at pick 11 because Kirkley's, I think that could put him in a weird spot unless he knows Justin Jefferson out there somewhere and Jordan Addison out there somewhere. Yeah. Maybe that bridges it. I'm with you. It's a little bit questionable there. High ceiling needs work. Spencer Rattler, I think, has a pretty good ceiling. I've fluctuated with him. He's gone from QB4 to me to QB7 and fluctuated everywhere in between over the last 2 weeks. He's a very hard guy to grade and then I don't know. He's also a little bit, he didn't run as well as I would have liked. Like obviously 40-yard dash doesn't matter for a quarterback, but I expected to move a touch quicker. Like when I watched him, I'm like, oh, he could run 4.8 and then he gets you like almost a 5. It's like, okay, he maybe no limited bootlegs with him, but we'll see. Yeah. Ready-made pros. This one's kind of funny because you look at it, they're both pretty much ready to go because of all the experience, but in completely opposite ways. Michael Penix with the arm, just the ridiculous arm talent, the ability to throw the ball on a rope outside the numbers, put the ball anywhere on the field, the ability to get the ball out, quick release, kind of an awkward delivery. It's like 3/4 his elbow. Sometimes it's touching his ribs when he throws it. And then Bo Nix's ability to process and make decisions in the snap of a finger with a very underrated arm strength. Very almost opposite play styles, but still ready to go pros right out of the gate, arguably. If Maybe you're Minnesota, you take one of those guys, Michael Penix, Justin Jefferson's over there, Jordan Addison's over there. At the end of the season, TJ Hawkinson will be right there. Just do what you did at Washington and throw one-on-ones, basically. Don't even read the – you don't have to really read the defense. Just identify if there's one safety up, then that means Justin Jefferson's one-on-one. There you go. So that could be something there. I'm using Minnesota as the crux because they're like that first team outside of that top 10 that'll need a quarterback. And I think Atlanta, by all counts, are going to get – Kirk Cousins is going to Atlanta, so I'm ruling them out right now too. But maybe the Giants too. The Giants are in that mix as well if they get sick of Daniel Jones. But they might be trying to go for these other two that you have in the top 2 prospect of Jayden Daniels and Drake May. Jayden Daniels, I think, is same reason with those other two. He's ready to go next year, I think. I think if you draft him, you start him right away. The ball placement still, he has NFL ball placement. His athleticism, the fear he's going to put in defenses when he turns that corner, and his ability to take off like we see with a lot of mobile quarterbacks. His rookie year is going to be dynamic. I mean, we saw it with your boy Cam Newton. The fear that those guys put at RG3, like, my goodness, what these guys did. Even Anthony for his 7 quarters. Lamar for his first full year. The throwing windows are so much bigger when you have that threat with your legs to the extent he does. And we're not talking about just mobile guys or scramblers, like the ability to hit you for 60 off the corner. Those linebackers stay farther back, the holes to throw. That's why we saw Lamar lead the NFL in touchdown passes his first full year starting, because he terrified people with him just turning on the afterburners. They got 6 extra rockets strapped to their back ready to go. And I think Jayden Daniels is a little more better of a passer than some of those guys are coming out, at least. So I think he'll be ready to go right away. Maybe the ceiling isn't quite as high as some of the other guys in the draft, but it's not like it's that low either. Like, I think he's a very interesting prospect. Drake May, he's another one. I love him, but I hate him all at the same time. I'm going through a roller coaster with him because his ceiling is Matthew Stafford in his prime, like he could Justin Herbert-esque. But then out of nowhere, he gives you moments of just some Carson Wentz interceptions where I'm scratching my head or just want to run my head into a wall, because he has situations where it's like, are you actually reading the defense or are you running the play that you saw on the whiteboard? So I think he's a little up and down. If he gets a good veteran backup quarterback, and I don't mean just a veteran, I mean like a 34-year-old on the back end just collecting paychecks, like what Josh McCown was for a few years. If he gets one of those, that's going to be awesome. I think that's going to be the best thing for his career, regardless of which team he goes to. Also, him working with Phillip Rivers in the offseason is perfect, or leading up to the draft, because they are polar opposites as far as natural skill set. You and I talked about this, so I'm just reiterating it to you again. Yeah. You could not get 2 more opposite athletic profiles, and yet they have the same personality, from kind of like the shucks, gee whiz from the South as well too. Like their personalities match, but their athletic talent's opposite. So I think it really gets through. So I think if he gets a good quarterback coach and veteran backup quarterback, I think that'll be great for him. Some of those things leave me scratching my head like, seriously, Drake, what are we doing here? That being said, I still stand by. He's the number 1 quarterback prospect last year. I know everyone's going to throw CJ Stroud at me, but the hindsight's 2020 with his rookie year. Coming out, there's a lot of more questions with CJ. I still had him as the 5th overall prospect. So anyone that wants to yell, don't yell at me. My point stands. Drake May has been announced, and the year before he's the QB1. And even next year he'd be QB. He's outstanding. He's just unfortunately there's 11 guys on this draft tier list. That's all you need to see about the quarterbacks here. Yep. And now we're going to go to last but not least. I need to speak with the manager, Caleb Williams. I understand, and I agree with you that whoever called him Patty 2.0 needs to be fired. That is absolutely ridiculous, and it's unfair to him too. Like, think about it this way. Let's say he comes out and has Dak Prescott's career. Multiple times leading the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns, playoff wins, division wins. And then, so like in the case with the Cowboys, Eagles, their rivals, the Eagles or the Commanders, whatever it is. Point is, you're beating the piss out of your division for most of your career. If the Bears come out and get everything like that, it's going to be considered a almost bust level of disappointment, which is absolutely insane. It's almost like when people were saying Victor Wembanyama, if he has Hakeem Olajuwon's career, they're going to call it a bust. Yeah. Like the hyperbole around it is just asinine. I see Caleb as QB1 in this class personally, because if we were rearranging this, he'd be high ceiling but needs a little bit of work, because that ceiling is. Holy moly, that ceiling's pretty high up there. When the arm strength, the ability to make the play shortstop at quarterback in a similar way. He does have things to work on. He's got to sit in the pocket, and he's got to make a profit on more plays. So if that makes sense too, like he's got to take that 4-yard slant a little bit more. Obviously, we have a category made just for him, so there's only so much maneuvering we could do.
I know we'll leave the category too, so we'll leave it, but we're gonna move him up.
Okay, cool. So that works for me too. I get what you're saying though. The hype thing almost makes it nauseating, and it takes away from what he does do well. Because if you look at him as like we look at it, it's like that's not Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes throws it, but his average depth of target is 6.5 yards. So the freakish highlight plays are from 2019. That Caleb Williams is going to have to learn to take those 60 yards per target. That doesn't mean he can't get there. The Lincoln Riley system with that is kind of, we'll say, erratic. Like the quarterbacks will stuff the stat sheet, but there will be some bad habits to kind of break getting into the NFL. Yeah. We saw it with Kyler Murray, for example. And on top of it, that team was terrible. Like, I don't care. That USC team is terrible. That offensive line is worse than the Chicago Bears the last few years up until they got Darnell Wright. That receiving core is, you had Jordan Addison. That was nice. Brendan Rice will probably get drafted, but like, that's not Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. out there. Like that's not Roma Dunze and McMillan out there or Jalen Polk. Like it's not even Troy Franklin out there this year. So, and yet defense, I'm almost 100% sure that every single other quarterback on this list had a defense at least 20 spots higher than theirs. That's how bad it was.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like which doesn't excuse it, but I think at the same time that explains some of my issues with him not taking the profits, if that makes sense, to the point where honestly, if we could take the hype away from Caleb Williams and just look at him without the hype, I think it'd be a little bit less obnoxious. But I agree with you. Like, whoever his I don't know if it's his manager or whoever it was that started that Patty 2.0 thing, I would like to speak with him and take a challenge and a yellow flag at this point, because it's just getting outright obnoxious. And he's a top 5 QB prospect of the last 10, 15 years, we could say, somewhere in that too. Like top 5, 7-ish, in my opinion. Like, he's not the Andrew Luck or Trevor Lawrence coming out necessarily, not those ones that are like, doesn't matter what you have around him, you're good. Like, you're set. Yeah. Not quite that. Not the Peyton Manning's. Not. He's really good. He's QB1 last year coming out, even the year before, and probably would be next year. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. So this is where I fall with Caleb, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a little more leading up to the draft when we do our last mock. But the biggest thing with Caleb is that he's a lot like Russell Wilson, and not in the good way, where he creates creates pressure on himself. He invites it to the point where he almost freestyles to a fault.
Which I'm blaming Lincoln Riley for that one too. Like, he has to bring. That's one of the things he has to bring.
If you look at now where we have this and the high ceiling still needs work, the irony here is that both of these guys are Lincoln Riley products. Like, they were both under Lincoln Riley. Obviously, Caleb stayed with him a little bit longer, but not much longer. I mean, 1 year longer. That's all. The irony is they both played at the same time in Oklahoma, and they're both Lincoln Riley products. So yeah, it makes sense that these both would need work. But I think Caleb, I don't call him the number 1 prospect in this class, because I still think there's a lot of work to do. I do think there is ability there, and I said this early on. I'm not putting him down there in the I need to talk to your manager thing about his talent. It's very much a top 5 talent, top 3 talent, really. But I don't have him 1, and I don't have him 2. And the biggest reason why, what Jaden Daniels can do as an X factor is insane. I think that in and of itself makes up for a lot of the rookie questions, because you can run the ball as long as he holds on to the ball and he can stay healthy. Running the ball at the pace he does,
I do not need him running over anybody. You slide.
Yeah, absolutely. Get down, get out of bounds, do what you got to do, but don't take any big hits. But hold on to the ball. That ability is second to none. Now, Drake May, I think we're seeing a lot of what we saw with guys that just get picked apart. And I talked about this in one of our draft specials, that it's like you're under the magnifying glass for so long that everybody will just find something stupid to pick apart. He wears his hat sideways one day, and it's like a 2-week cycle of news about it. And it's like, obviously I'm exaggerating, but that's just how it feels with him. And it just feels unnecessary to try to break him down so much, because he is still a high quality prospect. And like you said, he's training with Phillip Rivers. That's going to get better. He's just going to learn to win. And at the end of the day, Phillip Rivers knows one thing, and that's just winning. He may not have been the most successful of all the quarterbacks of that generation, but no doubt in his will to win. And if he can just expand that to Drake May and just his, nature to just make a play, that's all you need. So beyond those two, I think that's where I see Caleb Williams, is that next class where he's like right there as number 3, just because he has work to do. He's just unpolished. Look, diamonds need to be polished too. It's not like they come out looking sparkly and clean. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. So that's how I look at Caleb, that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But yeah, I
Oh,
just I hate the conversation around him. That is just, it's like, oh, we want, Leo Messi type of contract numbers where we get part of the team, or we get this, we get that. No, you're not there yet. Earn your stripes first, and then we can talk. And that's why I had him at the I need to speak to your managers, because like it's what's around him that's the problem, and that worries me by drafting him. Just like we saw with the first Ball brother. It's, you saw what LeVar did on the outside, and you saw how it damaged his career. And I mean, to the point where he literally got injured so much because of the shoes that LeVar forced him to wear, that now he's missing 2 years consecutively. Like, I worry Caleb Williams is going to let the surrounding things damage what he is doing successfully. As long as it's not his dog, please protect your dog. That's all I care about.
That is all that matters. Well, on the same token, you mentioned with Drake Man that microscope. I think part of it is put on him on that as well too, because they last year. I mean, they were at Heisman 1 and 5 or something like that. Like, they've had the microscope in full abundance. But I want to add on to what you said about Phillip Rivers too. If I'm not mistaken, Bo Nix is working out with them too, which that's another one as well. If you can get a little bit of that, a little bit of that aw shucks and ability to just kind of rip it a little bit more, I think that'll be great for Bo Nix, who I stand by it. We've seen it in the mock draft Mondays they've done so far. Bo Nix to the Broncos makes way too much sense. He fits with Sean Payton entirely too much. Will they do it? I don't know. But it just makes way too much sense. And I'm just saying, like, if Broncos, if you want to finally not be an embarrassment since Peyton Manning left, one of those guys in that top 5 on this list makes sense. And I think he's obviously, you're probably not getting those the Caleb, the Jaden, or the Drake Mays of the draft class. But from that next tier, Bo Nix it's a glove. It's a latex glove fit. Whether you like Penix more or not, I feel like Bo Nix is the latex fit. And Penix, this is an interesting one, but if he starts to slip a little bit, I would love to see the Giants trade back into the first round at the back end of it, like grab a Dunze, a pick with their first round pick, then go and trade back to get Michael Penix. So it was like, all right, Daniel Jones, you're on a short leash now. And then if nothing else, you got Penix and Roma Dunze. Oh, shoot, one-on-one. Screw it. He out there somewhere. You got that connection back just for fun. So it's going to be a fun class. And I will preface by saying it is once again March 5th. So I have the right to change and alter as I go through the scouting process as we get ahead to the big boards and the future prospect list as well. I have the right to change my mind ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, and pro days are still coming up. So be sure to look. I know we're going to change our mind. The only thing that you will stand by is when we release our big board, we release our rankings, and we release that last mock draft. That is when we have our mind set. And those won't come until the last week of the draft. So, or last week leading up to the draft. So you have a lot to look forward to, guys. But yeah, by the way, we'll know who watched this episode because we moved Caleb. So I can't wait to see some of the comments we're going to see here, where I have Caleb in the intro versus where he is now. But yeah, no, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Be sure to check out our brand new episodes Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and then live on your favorite platform the next morning. Also, check out DJ rocking some mock draft Mondays. I'll make an appearance every once in a while. But that's DJ's baby. I let him have fun with that because that thing is way too intense for me. And then Tier Tuesdays leading up to the draft, as we just talked about in the intro. We're going to be doing position groups every week, so be sure to check out our YouTube page, HighLowSports, or check us out on all social medias at high_low_sports on X/Twitter, and then HighLowSports on every other platform. So we appreciate you guys as always, and stay tuned for more. And by the way, I am still waiting to speak to that manager.